Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Binge Battle. I am your host, Mark Ellis, and today, whoo, boy, now usually on this show we talk about a TV show, some actors, maybe a movie occasionally that we're really excited about that is out in the zeitgeist currently. But today, it's going to be all the TV shows because we are sort of previewing, sort of prognosticating the 2022 Emmys ceremony coming up this September. Now, this has been recorded a few weeks in advance, and I want to let you know that we have two expert panelists here who are going to give you their thoughts on what they think should win, what should not win, and there might be some light spoilers in a few of these heavily nominated programs. That being said, I gave you fair warning. This is going to be possibly my favorite binge battle of the year because we all put so much into these award shows. What is going to take top honors? Best show, best actor, best actress? What's a little overhyped? All those questions going to be answered by two of the all-time greats and returning champions that we have here at Binge Battle. I'll also let everybody know if you want all the latest updates on what's going on with the 2022 Emmy ceremony or really anything in the world of television and movies, head over to RottenTomatoes.com right now. Right there, you can get a complete list of all the nominees for the upcoming Emmy ceremony. With that being said, it is my great honor to welcome to Binge Battle a returning favorite. You know her as a correspondent from everything from Rotten Tomatoes here to E! News, and she also happens to rescue wolves, I believe, and she also knows where the best burger in Los Angeles is. It's the one and only Naz Perez. Naz, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this.
This is going to be fun. So do you get hyped up for the award shows from a competitive standpoint, or do you just enjoy watching the red carpet stuff, the glitz and the glamour of it?
Well, of course, I love any fashion that I get to see on a red carpet. But no, for me, it's about celebrating all the television and art that entertained us throughout the year. And especially in the last couple of years, I feel like we've all had it a little bit rough. And we've all been watching a little bit more TV, which to me makes the Emmys race that much more exciting because people are so invested.
So there's Naz Perez, and her opponent today is also another dear friend of mine. You know her as a TV host for a number of outlets, including her own endeavor, The World Girls. It is Roxy Stryer, the star of the film Always Loa, making its run in the film festival circuit. Roxy, I do want to get to the Emmys, but first of all, how exciting was it to be at the Always Lola premiere and have everybody watching you on the big screen? I was there, and I don't know if I would have been nervous or excited. What was that elixir like?
It was amazing, Mark. I had never seen the movie, so it could have just been trash. And luckily it was not. And so having people there like you, I was like, okay, if it's going to suck, then I'm not going to see him afterwards. He's going to run out, and that's how I'll know. And then afterwards, everybody stuck around. And everybody was saying how good it was. And I can tell your lying face. And that was the truthful face. So it was really incredible. And I also just wanted to let you guys know that I might not rescue wolves, but I did rescue an earring from the drain today that got dropped in the sink. So I'm also kind of a hero. And I just think that's important to know going into this.
Also, true Jersey girl fashion. And I am so excited to be here with Roxy. Like, you have no idea. You're the best, Roxy.
I am so excited to have both y'all here. And Roxy, I know what a competitive person you are in your everyday life, and particularly as we get into NFL season. Do you watch the Emmys like sitting on the edge of your seat? Do you have your picks ready? Are you rooting actively for shows?
This is definitely by far and away my favorite night of television of the year. I know that some people are down on award shows. I don't care what they say. The Emmys are like it is my Super Bowl, even though the Super Bowl is also my Super Bowl. I love the Emmys. I dream of being at the Emmys one day. I dream of my acceptance speech. I'm that girl who didn't ever design her wedding dress and has designed every single Emmys outfit I could ever wear. Like I root for these people so hard. They had to work their butts off to get there, every single one of them. And it's just such an incredible night. Maybe awards shouldn't matter, but in this household, which is a household of one, they certainly do.
Wow, you see what happens to these Patriots fans, folks? They get so spoiled going to 9 Super Bowls in the last 2 decades. Now they call the Emmys their Super Bowl. Well, we are going to get going with the Super Bowl of Binge Battle for this year anyway. Well, at least it's the Emmy prediction show. I am so excited to hear y'all's picks, to hear what you think maybe a little overrated, what's underrated, who should be winning. And so here is how the show works. Each of you is going to be doing competitive verbal debate through at least 4 rounds. We do have a 5th round prepared in case we need a tiebreaker. You get a minute opening salvo, you have a 30-second rebuttal, and finally, you have a 10 to 15-second closing statement to drop the mic on your argument. And then it is up to me, your judge, jury, and Judy, to give a point to who I think made the best argument, or maybe just who I agree with. Let's be honest. So we're going to get it kicked off here with round number one. Roxy, we're starting with you. And the question is thus: what is the best drama series? What should be winning? And I say this with a qualifier because both of our contestants, as well as me and probably everybody watching, is rooting for and thinks the show Severance should be winning. It was brilliant. Maybe if we have time at the end, we can gush about Severance. But so Severance is DQ'd from today only because we think it's going to win. But what other show, if Severance didn't exist, should be taking top honors in best drama series?
This might be the best year of television we've ever had, but putting Severance aside, there is another show that is truly excellent that I have no business loving as much as I do, and that is Succession. Let's talk about a show that we should all hate, with a bunch of rich white people just complaining about their problems that I cannot relate to. Like, never have I been watching Succession and been like, yup, I feel you. I understand what you're going through. That's never one time happened to me. And yet every single week when it comes on, the world must stop because I have to be watching this show. I don't know why it's so good. I don't understand why we all love it the way we do. Could it be the brilliant writing, the incredible acting, or the fact that it is just so far out of the realm of my world that it takes me to like escapism television? Maybe that. I've never seen a show that just like is such a hard hitter like this, where you could win in. This show could take home all of the Emmys and nobody would be surprised, not just for best drama, but for pretty much every person who's ever been on screen in this show. They all have noms. And because of that, not only do I think that this could win, but I think that very likely it should win.
Yeah, I don't care if it wins or loses, but I want to get this ceremony over with so that we get season 4 sooner rather than later. Let's go to Naz Perez, who is going to be arguing for something that is not Severance and it's not Succession. What do you got, Naz?
Well, I'm going to go with the biggest surprise of the entire TV season, which I think we can all agree is Squid Game. Squid Game is like the little show that could. The creator and director, Hwang Dong-hyuk, actually said that it took him like 10 years to make the show, and it ended up being Netflix's most watched series ever. It has 14 nominations. It's the first non-English series to even be nominated in this category. And if you guys think about it, if you remember the Oscars when Parasite won, which was the first non-English film to win, no actors were even nominated. And I know that that's the Oscars and this is the Emmys, but listen, it's also just Hollywood. And I think that this show, if it were to win in any category, it's going to win in best drama series for overall achievement. I think Succession is more likely to win in like the acting categories. I mean, this show out of any other series nominated in outstanding drama has the most captivating storyline ever. It's literally a social commentary on feminism, on ageism, on classism. I mean, the fact that it made red light, green light like horrific we should be giving it an award just for that reason. Also, the performances were outstanding. Lee Jung-jae, Chun Ho-young took home the SAG awards for it. Lee's taken other acting awards for it. But I just think that Squid Game, all in all, has the most captivating storyline and really just shocked the world as opposed to any other shows nominated in this category.
Yeah, I think I was right there with a lot of people. When I saw red light, green light, I'm like, oh, I can play this. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, okay, never mind. My bad. Get me out of here. Roxy, let's go back to you talking about Succession and maybe why you think that should get the nod over Squid Game.
So what I'm not going to do is sit here and tell you that Squid Game isn't incredible, because it absolutely is. That is one of the best shows of the year. But I do think that one of the reasons we're talking about it is because it was so surprising. It was just such none of us were looking forward to it, and it wasn't on anybody's radar. And so I think that it really shocked the world and we weren't ready for it. And that's why people were saying, you've never seen something like that. Succession had a lot more work to do because it was coming off of two of the most talked about television seasons ever. People were obsessed with this show, and it had a lot of heavy lifting to do. And the fact that it got even better in this season than it was previously was like, how did you manage to one up yourself? I can't wait to see in what world and what wraps we see next season. Like, if they just keep going on this trajectory, they could be one of the best shows of all time. So that's why I think it edges out Squid Game by a slight margin.
Careening towards GOAT status. Let's go back to Naz. Naz, why do you think Squid Game maybe edges out Succession?
Well, I think because Succession already won Outstanding Drama Series in 2020, I think it would be deserving if it won this year. But I think the season that it won for was actually better than season 3. I kind of disagree with you, Roxy, there. And I truly feel like the Television Academy likes to award freshman series and series that like really spark a global conversation, which is why I really feel like Squid Game would win over Succession. But I agree with you, Roxy. I think Succession is like one of the greatest of all time. It's one of my favorite shows. And I even listen to the theme song on the way to see my family sometimes. I think Netflix takes this category again. They won for The Crown last year. And I think Squid Game would take it this year if Severance didn't.
Sounds like we need to have cameras following Naz's family reunions, because if that's the music you're playing to get pumped up, I think we need to see what goes on at Thanksgiving. Roxy,
so many follow-ups for that. So many questions. But yes, I'll ask you later. Mm-hmm.
You get to have the first mic drop of the day. What is your closing statement stumping for Succession?
When you're a show that has 25 Emmy nominations, how do you look past that? The fact that it has more Emmy nominations than any other show this year, that it did win for last season, and it's not just riding on the coattails of last season. They were original this year. They gave us new, fresh material that we were not expecting, and still we're managing to leave us on a cliffhanger that's going to leave everybody coming back for more. So I think it's got to be Succession, just because of how many incredible elements make up that one show.
All right. And Naz Perez, the last word in round 1 goes to you.
Well, I'll say there are a lot of elements in Squid Game too. I mean, they've racked up so many awards for stunts. I mean, story, costume, acting. So I feel like a lot of the elements are there with Squid Game too. But the difference between a Squid Game and a Succession is Squid Game is not just an Emmy nominee like Succession or even Severance is. And it's not just a TV show. It's a cultural phenomenon. It honestly should be in the dystopian Hall of Fame. I mean, we're even getting like a reality spinoff show, Squid Game, The Challenge, where like they're going to give off like $456 million to like contestants found around the world. And I just think if you go to like the deepest off the grid nooks and crannies of the world, chances are people there have probably not seen or heard of Succession and Severance, but chances are they've probably heard of Squid Game. And for that reason, and for the global conversation it's created, I think that it's going to take Outstanding Drama Series just for that achievement alone.
All right. Well, first things first, sign me up for the reality show based on Squid Game. I will compete in that. And I'll say this.
Mark. No.
Hey, I'm going to need a teammate from one of y'all is going to have to be my partner here. Like that, when you were a kid, you wanted to be on Double Dare, and now as an adult, you want to be on Squid Game, just as long as it's the pretend version.
What a
when I'm thinking about these two shows in particular, it's an interesting dichotomy, because Roxy, you make an excellent point about Succession. How do you follow the cliffhanger that we got with an excellent season 2? I think that season 3 was probably the best one thus far, because I think that they got the tone between a satire parody, but also like really intense drama perfectly nailed this time around. But Squid Game, like Naz says, was more than just a little show that could. It was more than just a surprise. It was a cultural phenomenon, to the point where Netflix said that in its first 28 days, 1.6 billion hours of viewing time were dedicated by viewers to Squid Game, which shatters the record of Bridgerton, which was only like 600 million hours previously. So I think that there really is something here. And the other thing I'll say is that I don't think if Succession was going against Severance, that Succession would have a chance. I think Squid Game does have a chance. I think that might be the one that has a chance over Severance. And so great arguments all around. I'm going to lean towards the person who really sort of embodies the Succession music, Naz Perez, with her pick of Squid Game in round 1. And Naz is on the board first. It is 1-0.
Fair.
An embarrassment of riches that we have to debate here on Binge Battles. We head into round number 2. Naz kicks us off with our topic, the best actor and actress in a drama. series.
Going on, riding on the coattails of Roxy's amazing argument on Succession, I think that the three of us can agree that the fact that Brian Cox does not have an Emmy for playing Logan Roy is like actually criminal, because his performance is towering. He is ruthless. He is intense. He is cantankerous. He plays this man that deep down loves his children, even through all of those feelings. And I think only Brian Cox could really pull off that nuance. You said it before, Roxy, like this show has 25 Emmy nominations. They broke a record this year for getting 14 nods in the acting categories. This is an acting show, and leading the pack is Mr. Brian Cox. And then for Best Actress in a Drama Series, I'm going to go with Zendaya. You know, Zendaya became the youngest female to win in this category at 24 years old in 2020. And a lot of people honestly underestimated Zendaya for it because she was this Disney child star, and she is so raw as this character Rue. And in this last season of Euphoria, she goes on a bender and really does all these unhinged and dangerous things. And I feel like this season of Euphoria was really a container to showcase all of the talents that Zendaya has and really brings to this show. 19 million people watched Euphoria this season, and the average percentage from season 1 to season 2, like per episode viewership, was up 100%, meaning that awareness of this show is just massive, meaning more Emmy voters have watched it and her performance, which is why I think she'll take it again this year like she did in 2020.
Yeah, she was a bit of a surprise winner in 2020, but now you have Brian Cox, who again, it sounds like it should be headline news that he has not won an Emmy for playing Logan Roy yet, which is shocking. We go to Roxy Stryer to counter with your Best Actor and Actress for a drama series.
So we've switched positions a little bit here, because while you might be taking a Succession person, I'm taking a Squid Game person. So it may help me that you just won in this previous argument. But listen, Lee Jung-jae is like just truly the reason that this show works. I can't believe that we took a show and we showed it to an American audience, and this show is in a foreign language, and people were still captivated by him. Not because that shouldn't be the way it always is, but just because that's never the way that it is. We are a bunch of people who like to watch American content in this country. And the people that step outside of that boundary, oftentimes they're met with pushback saying, I don't want to listen to in dubs or subtitles. But somehow, some way, this show was so great that even the people that fight against foreign language shows were like, no, this show is incredible. And it's because of one reason. And it's what the whole show centers around. We are rooting for a character that I don't even know if he's a good dude. Probably not, based on the things that we saw, but you're still rooting for him. The emotion in his face, the arc that he goes through, the fact that even towards the end, when he is messing with some of our favorite characters and working so that they might end up dying off, you're still like, I still want you to live. Even if it means that the elderly die, damn me to wherever I'm going, I still want you to live. This man is such a brilliant actor that he made not just this country, but the entire world fall in love with him, even if he's not the greatest guy. And that's incredible. And then on the other side of things, wow, can I not talk enough about Laura Linney? I think that Ozark also doesn't work without her. I think she is everything that people wanted Skylar to be in Breaking Bad and what made people so mad about that show. I think that she is so nuanced and like maybe the world's worst human being. And yet she is a mother that you want to see protect everybody. And the way that she does this is, I have no idea, like how she is manipulating me to still say, is she a good person? Do I like her? It's all in the face. And whatever she's doing with her face, it's so working. Plus, it's the final season. She never won for Ozark. That is ridiculous. It's the last chance to give it to her. So Lee Jung-jae and Laura Linney for the win.
I like where y'all are going, where it's like you have sort of two legacy actors and you're like, well, no, they need to win. How can they not have won for this yet? And then you have two more newcomers, at least two American audiences. So back to you, Naz. something for Zendaya and Brian Cox.
Like you were saying, Mark, a lot of people don't know that Brian Cox does not have an Emmy for this. He was actually the first Succession cast member to win an acting award, I believe, at the Golden Globes. But Jeremy Strong, his like number one boy, actually took home the Emmy for this. Last time they were both in this category together. I think it's safe to say like Brian Cox just deserves this. For this past season, there's a dinner scene between Jeremy Strong and Logan Roy in the penultimate episode that is just so absorbing. And the intimidation that Brian is able to exude, the stillness that he has in the character, he almost feels like a great white shark in the water. And I don't know many actors that make you feel that way through the screen. I mean, you're not even like sitting next to him. It was that final scene in Succession. I'm trying to figure out ways to say it without really spoiling it. I just believe because of that scene and what Logan Roy was able to do, I feel like he's going to come out on top. This is Laura Linney's last chance, and Laura Linney is outstanding, Roxy. She has won every Emmy for every performance that she's been nominated for. And sadly, I think this is going to be the first time that she's nominated for a show and doesn't take home an award for it. And the reason why I say that is because I was listening to a podcast on one of these outlets that we all listen to. I think it was Gold Derby. Wendy, the character that Laura Linney plays, is kind of like Walter White. And I don't think there's a certain group of Emmy voters that don't really take to cold women roles like that. And for that reason, I don't think Laura Linney would win. I think Zendaya would take it over her, even though I think Laura Linney is super deserving.
I love the amount of effort and research y'all put into this episode. It warms my heart that people care. Hi, everybody watching. Let's go back to Roxy for your rebuttal here and supporting both Squid Game and Ozark.
I think when it comes to Brian Cox, I just don't know that he is better than Jeremy Strong. I think they're equal, and that might not be fair to them. But when they're both nominated and I'm thinking about who deserves to win, I can't pick one of them over the other. I just can't, because I think that they're both so powerful. Jeremy has a lot of weirder stuff to do. And Brian Cox had to have an STI this season. So, we got to give it to him for that. That seemed like a whole different layer of its own. But I just don't know that he is the best on the show, even though he is so incredible. And I also feel like I'm just so tired of watching really old, rich white men screaming. And that is like, I see it on the news all the time. So when I turn him on, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, Brian, again, for sure, again. And it's accurate, but I just don't know that I'm in the mood for it all the time. You might be right about Laura Linney, that they might not give it to her because they don't like cold women, but I'm going to sit here and defend all of the cold women because there are more cold men and they give it to the cold men all of the time. Zendaya is so young. She is so powerful. She is an absolute star, but she did win for this role already. And there will be more years of Euphoria that she can win for as well, as opposed to Laura Linney, who this is her last year and maybe her best performance, and a performance that is so different than Zendaya, who is a drug addict on the show. That gives you so much to play with, as opposed to Laura Linney's character, where I feel like Wendy is something she created. She just straight up from her own brain was like, this is what I want to bring to the screen. And for Lee Jong-jae, we already know that Squid Game won the argument. So he made that show that won the argument.
And we go back to Naz Perez now for your closing statement here in round two. It's a jam-packed round two. We're talking about 4 incredible talents. Naz, what's the final statement?
The Twitter adoration that this man has gotten for cursing and saying, oh, F off. The fact that his first and only Emmy was in 2001, and this Logan Roy in Succession is perhaps the role of his career. I really see the TV Academy giving it to him this season, because like you said, you feel like him and Jeremy are kind of neck to neck, but Jeremy has won already. I feel like it's sort of Brian Cox's time, because this is really like a legendary role. I love Laura Linney too, Roxy. And so in my head, I'm like, yeah, I can see why. And just so everyone watching knows, everyone has always been wrong about Best Actress in a Drama Series category. Every time someone thinks it's this person, another person wins. So that's what's really, really fun about the Emmys in this category specifically. So Laura could definitely take it, but I just think Zendaya's kind of like like going up against Beyonce. Like you just don't bet your chips. You don't go to Vegas and bet against Zendaya. She's nominated 4 times this season, and 1 for the series, 1 in this category, and 2 for original song and lyrics that she contributed to the show. And I think that is just proof enough of how much the Academy loves Zendaya and why she will be taking home the Emmy in this category.
Nice little nugget from Naz is that if you're making your predictions at home, maybe you don't bet Laura Linney or Zendaya.
Yeah, there you go.
Somebody else. Surprise everyone. Roxy, you get the final statement here in round number 2.
I think with Laura Linney, like you said, we never know the direction we're going in. So all I can do is go with my heart and say who I think really deserves to win it. And the fact that she was such a different character season 1 as opposed to the finale of this. And the fact that we don't think that Ozark is going to win best show. And we don't think that Jason Bateman, the fact that we don't think he's going to win best actor, the fact that that none of those things are going to win. And Ozark was such a massive hit for them. I think it's got to go to her. And the fact that Lee Jung-jae came into every single person's household and said, and burst the door open and said, you will respect me, you will pay attention to me, you will watch me. I think that if you are a betting person, which you shouldn't be, says my therapist, then these are the 2 to bet on. Mm-hmm.
But there's some pretty good horses to back. If you are a betting person, I don't know if we condone gambling on the show. As Naz indicated, it is a family program, so take it for what you will. But you're talking about a couple shows that really are not necessarily for the whole family. And when you look at these 2 sets of performers, what strikes me again is that you have like, okay, this might be the last chance for someone like Laura Linney. Brian Cox has never won for this role that we just assume he's won every time for. I love Naz's point that Brian Cox is so cantankerous in the show. It's a great word for a guy who also somehow can be doing voiceover on a commercial and make me really hungry for a hamburger. So I look at Roxy, and I do love the point that Roxy made. When it comes to a political race, sometimes you look at 2 different candidates from the same party and you say that they're going to be stealing votes from each other. Maybe that could happen with Jeremy Strong and Brian Cox. Maybe that's already what's happened. And so I think the key factor for me, the deciding factor here, is Laura Linney in Ozark. I think that above all the other ones that we mentioned today, Laura Linney is the one who just gave such a riveting performance, because at the same time, we didn't know how that show was going to end. And so to be on the edge of our seat, watching her and her many faces and watching the events unfold, I think that was just such captivating TV, and she was at the center of all of it. So I give Roxy the point here in round 2. And, these are some of the arguments, and then also who I think is going to win. But like, again, I would take Roxy and Naz's words to the bank more than I would take my decision to the bank if I can just absolve myself of any financial loss that the viewer may incur. So we move to round 3. It's a tied ball game, 1-1. And our next round is going to be a fun topic, because what's the overhyped series? What's the overhyped series that got nominated? And you're like, oh, really? Okay. You didn't saying you hate it or you think it's bad, but it's just like maybe it's a little too overhyped for you, starting with Naz Perez.
I probably shouldn't have picked this knowing that Mark Ellis hosts this show.
Uh-oh.
I'm definitely shooting myself in the foot. But my overhyped series is Saturday Night Live. It's now. SNL, just so everyone knows, has a 5-year winning streak, and they have benefited from a change that was made in the Emmy categories in 2015, when variety series was split into variety talk series and variety sketch series. And because of that, SNL barely goes up against anything. I think they have like 305 nominations, 81 Emmys overall. They're only nominated this year up against a Black Lady sketch show. And I just feel like it's time for another sketch variety series to shine. I love SNL. It's always going to be a classic. I want Bowen Yang to win. I think it's always going to be iconic. I love NBC Universal. They help me pay rent. I do love SNL. I do think it's overhyped. And just to throw in a little more controversy, I think Kim Kardashian saved this last season of SNL. I'm sorry, but I do.
Wow. Okay. So spicy take from Naz Perez. So let's move over to Roxy Streyer's side of the street and see, what do you think is the most overhyped series that was nominated?
So I watch a lot of television, if you can't guess already. And sometimes I do this thing that I call rocking the high-low. And one of the shows that I put on the low end of that is a show that consistently gets nominated at the Emmys, and I'm baffled by it. and that is Flight Attendant. Listen, I like this show. It is a guilty pleasure of mine, but make no mistake, that's what it is, a guilty pleasure. This is not a great show. It is a show that I really enjoy watching, and it is so fun to do so. But an Emmy nominated show. Last year, it was nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series. What are we talking about? This year, she's nominated. This is a show that's been nominated multiple times. What? Who, who's who's paying who on this? Because I'm shocked. It was like when Emily in Paris was nominated. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Flight Attendant, you're so fun to watch, but are you the greatest show? Is this the greatest performance? What? No. People just like her a lot. No. This is not. No.
I am impressed and stunned at your ability to separate guilty pleasures from just stuff you actually think is great, because you're being judged by a guy who still thinks Rocky IV is like the best movie of the 80s. So maybe I have some soul searching to do, or maybe Rocky IV is just that good. In the meantime, let's go back to Naz Perez for your most overhyped show, SNL, the almost 50-year legacy sketch show.
Well, Mark, you and I are from the same camp, because I think, Roxy, that is an incredible gift you have to be able to separate the two, because I skew towards loving rotten movies and shows. I think instead of arguing more for SNL, because I believe that I made most of my points and I don't know if I have many more, I do just want to do a little rebuttal, if I may, on Kaylee Cuoco and the Flight Attendant, because this year, I don't think the series was nominated. Kaylee Cuoco is, and I actually think she shines as a hot mess. I think her ability to blend comedy and drama is actually really hard to do. And I think her performance is fun to watch. I think the tone is interesting. I think it's a different tone of a show that actually isn't really on TV right now. I mean, I love romance, I love murder, I love travel. And so I love all those things. And just because Kaylee Cuoco was never really recognized for A Big Bang Theory, I actually really like to see her getting recognized for this show that she put her heart and soul into, and that she helped create.
All right. So back to you, Roxy. You can continue to support Kaylee and Flight Attendant as being overhyped, or you can maybe stump for SNL a little bit. It's fielder's choice.
I love Kaylee Cuoco, don't get me wrong, but it would be like nominating Leighton Meester for Gossip Girl. It's just not how it's done. As an Emmys purist, you just don't take a show. And she's great. She's fitting the character perfect. Nobody else could play the role better. It's just not an Emmy worthy role, which is why if she won, I would flip a table. For SNL, I want to talk about it briefly, because was it the best season of SNL ever? Of course not. But it's still SNL, which means that there are still such incredible moments on the show. I'm with you about Kim K. I think that she is a rock star, and her opening monologue and then watching what she did to do all of that on the Kardashian show was incredible. But it's not just her. It's Simu Liu, and it's Paul Rudd, and it's Owen Wilson, and it's Jason Sudeikis, and it's saying goodbye to some of our favorite people like Pete Davidson and Kate McKinnon and Edie Bryant and Kyle Mooney, and it's all of the people and things that we love. Even when there are down moments, it's still the greatest sketch show. And the reason it's getting all the wins is because there isn't anything that's as good.
All right, back to Naz Perez for the final word here with the overhyped series.
I 100% agree with a lot of what you're saying about SNL. And yeah, the fact that we get to say bye to P and Kate and Adie and Kyle it definitely made it like a very special season. And in no way do I not think it's like absolutely unbelievable. I just think like we know it's been unbelievable like for years. Like we know, and there's other incredible things out there too. And so that's why I consider it overhyped. I think it should get hyped, but I think this year it's just kind of overhyped, and I would just like to see something else win. I would like to see shows like, I believe it's pronounced Ziwe. I don't want to say her name correctly, but her show on Showtime, like,
so good.
Why isn't that, you know what I mean? Like getting more recognition. I don't know. I feel like more people talk about SNL than they do about those shows. And so for that reason, I stick with SNL as being overhyped.
All right. Last word in round 3 goes to Roxy Stryer, and a leading point is at stake.
I'm completely with you on that, by the way. And there are other shows that should be hyped. none of those shows are Flight Attendant. Flight Attendant isn't overhyped. Flight Attendant is being hyped, and I don't understand. I love 90210. I loved me some OC. I love all these shows. Are they Emmy nominated worthy? Like, because this show getting nominated is one of the weirdest things that the Emmys has ever done. 2 years in a row, she's been nominated. It being nominated last year as a show, but this show should not be nominated.
Can we earmark this round? This might have been my favorite round just to sit back and watch. Like, I forgot that I had to judge this at some point just because Naz makes an excellent point here, because everybody should be watching a Black Lady sketch show. If you're not, it is fall down funny. And SNL, it is a legacy nomination. It's a legacy show. It's been going for 50 years. And that in itself is an accomplishment. And, to be fair, I don't necessarily tune into SNL all that much anymore, but I also work Saturday nights. For the Flight Attendant, it's HBO Max has been having a rough month, we can say. And to know that this show was on there, I did breeze by it occasionally. And so I think that the way I judge this round is just, it was so enjoyable. Naz makes great points, but it was so enjoyable to watch a Roxy torn amongst herself. She loves this show for a guilty pleasure, and she's going to flip a table. It's like saying, I love the Patriots, but if they get into the playoffs, it's not fair. It's just so fun. And so I have to give Roxy the point for, despite her affinity for the program, saying it's overhyped. Man, really, you sold your soul, but you got a point out of it. So Roxy,
I did sell my soul. I feel soulless now, but I'm still ready in here. Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, you may be soulless, but you have a 2-1 lead, and
I recommend the show. You should watch it. It's a good time.
Came here to win, and Roxy currently has the lead as we head into round number 4, and that is the biggest surprise nomination. And y'all can take this any way you want. That's the topic. Biggest surprise. Is it a good surprise? Is it a bad surprise? We are going to start with Roxy Stryer.
When I first watched Abbott Elementary, nobody was watching it. It was on in real time. And it was kind of one of those things, you look left and you look right and you're like, why is nobody talking about this show? This show is so funny. This is the next Parks and Rec. It is hysterical. And I think it's because there's no massive celebrities on the show. Quinta, the creator, has not had a laundry list of other shows that she's worked on. It just kind of was this like random show that I came across on ABC and was like, wow, nobody's talking about this, but it is incredible. And the fact that the Emmys caught wind of that, I was just kind of surprised with. The fact that she's nominated and the show is nominated is such a pleasant surprise, because this isn't a big HBO or Showtime comedy. This is we're going back to the basics here. This is an ABC show. We're going with a classic network sitcom, and it is one of those, the Office style, break the fourth wall, talk to the camera, and it's hysterical. And it deserves all of this love. I just can't believe it's getting it.
Yeah, it is a very, very entertaining show. Let's go to Naz Perez here for your biggest surprise nomination. And again, take it any way you want.
Yes. So first of all, Roxy, I love that you brought up Abbott Elementary, because yes, it's holding it down for broadcast. And since This Is Us didn't really get love this season around, I was really happy to see that. I loved The White Lotus. The White Lotus was my favorite show of last year, which is saying so much because we are all talking about so much. I knew The White Lotus was going to get nominated. I didn't think it was going to have 20 nominations. So it was like the biggest pleasant surprise for me, because I felt like I had to tell so many about my friends about it. So I was like, oh my God, thank God, like everyone and the Emmys is really like into this show. Because if you guys think about it, it's now been over a year since the creator and writer Mike White made this show. It was a surprise hit of the summer. And the fact that it has 5 acting nominations under Best Actress in Limited Series is like crazy momentum to have after a year from coming out. I mean, you got Jennifer Coolidge, who I believe got her first Emmy, she's going to get her first Emmy ever because of this. And you have Murray Bartlett, like the cast was so good. Connie Britton, Sydney Sweeney, one of 2 nominations. She's like such a breakout star. Alexandra Daddario, like it was just, it's such a satire for rich people today. And the way that the guests of the hotel and the what's the word? The guests of the hotel and the staff of the hotel interact Like it was just a social commentary on class society done in such a funny way. So many different tones. The music is a character in the show. The White Lotus really just came out of nowhere, like a White Lotus popped out of the snow. And I was so pleasantly surprised to see it get 20 nominations.
Yeah, and I did watch it. I'm not sure if I finished White Lotus. But Murray Bartlett's saying of pineapple, it just got stuck in my head. Like the pineapple sweet, I think is what they're trying to get into. Anyway,
the pineapple sweet.
It's still back in the gray matter somewhere. Let's go back to Roxy, because you made some great points about Abbott Elementary. It's a network show, and these days we're surprised that it's a network show getting nominated.
Yeah, I think that I agree with every single thing that Naz said about White Lotus. And that's the thing that I'm going to flip on her for a second, because this show had a ton of stars in it. It had a lot of people we know and a lot of people working on this show that are really successful and really famous. And that's why it was a killer show. I loved this show. Was not surprised when everybody else loved it too. And when the Emmys loved it. This is a show that is a Mike White show. He was on worked on Freaks and Geeks and wrote for Dawson's Creek. He wrote School of Rock. He wrote Nacho Libre. He wrote Pitch Perfect 3. He's got a lot of stuff under his belt, as opposed to Quinta, who she was on Black Lady Sketch Show, but she hasn't created something that we're like, oh, we all know her from this. And there she did. She came out as like this powerhouse in the entertainment industry on this show that she created and is starring in, that is, I think, going to run for the next 8 years. I mean, she set up a whole show that could take over a decade worth of Emmy nominations in television. And so I think that these shows are equally great in their own ways. Just with the White Lotus, with Jennifer Coolidge and Alexandra Daddario and Connie Britton and Sydney Sweeney and all the people we're naming, it's not surprising these big celebrities are getting nominations. It's surprising that Quinta and Abbott Elementary have 7 nominations at the Emmys. Just shocking.
All right, let's go back to Naz, who was shocked or at least surprised about White Lotus.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure there's like no argument there. And I believe Quinta actually broke a couple records too with a lot of her nominations, which I'm like so happy and applaud to see it happen. But you mentioned like big stars. It's like, isn't it surprising that Jennifer Coolidge doesn't have an Emmy?
Yeah.
Like this show is sort of, and I actually wouldn't say that this show had like, I don't want to say the word biggest stars, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of, Sydney Sweeney's a breakout. Natasha Rothwell never got nominated from Insecure. And she deserves all the Emmy love in the world. And her and Jennifer Coolidge just go toe to toe in so many scenes. And that's surprising to me that she's like finally, not like surprising, but I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised that she's finally getting recognized. Alexandra Daddario, like Murray Bartlett, he's been acting forever, but this was also his breakout role. And I just feel like the White Lotus did such a good job of telling multiple stories and weaving them together in just 6 episodes, which I think is really its appeal. It was like an easy binge. It blends comedy, it blends drama, it blends thrills. There's like a murder in it. I don't know. For me, it's not the most surprising. I think we're arguing different things. You're arguing most surprising. Mine was like, I was most pleasantly surprised to see it get all this love and all these stars finally sort of get their flowers, so to speak, through this show that really came out of nowhere.
I want Naz's description on the next season of White Lotus. It's like there's some comedy, there's some drama, there's a murder. It's great. Let's go to Roxy to drop the mic with her final statement.
Yeah, Naz is completely correct. Her show is super deserving. The show that she's talking about, the White Lotus. But when I just think about, even if you just hear show on HBO Max, miniseries on HBO Max gets a ton of nominations with a huge director writer behind it and a bunch of stars who you have seen a bajillion times, that is not like, what? No way. But when you hear it's 2022, you're not going to recognize any of these names attached to this project. But this ABC show that is in its first year will make you laugh your butt off to the point that it got 7 Emmy nominations. It's like, wow, who would have guessed? not me. And something crazy about this show is that they gave a lot of their marketing budget to inner city schools in Philadelphia. So they had like no marketing behind them. And so that's why this show was such a slow burn. So the fact that they had such a limited marketing budget because of what they did with their finances and everybody's still talking about it at the Emmys, that's pretty cool.
Let me check with the judges. Is that illegal tugging at my heartstrings right there? That was
Saved
good.
it for the last second.
That was a great mic drop. There's a season 2 for White Lotus, even though it's a limited series. No, I'm just kidding.
Naz, I'll give you a double mic drop if you would like to add anything else.
No, it's okay. I think this category is funny though, because I think I was just more thinking of what I was pleasantly surprised by, but like, obviously I love Abbott Elementary and I didn't know that, Roxy. That's so cool.
That's cool.
Their finances. That's sick.
Well, if I have to make a decision here, I'm gonna say it like this. Let's not exactly overhype how famous everybody in White Lotus is. It's not like, you know, you have like Brad Pitt. It's not like Zendaya is in the show. It's not like Kim Kardashian.
Well, that's what I was trying. Yeah, that's what I was trying to articulate. Kim Kardashian.
Jennifer Coolidge is my A-list celebrity. Okay, I've been trying to work on that voice. It's
got a lot of people that you're like, oh, I like them. It is what is how I would say White Lotus. But I mean, again, it's such an odd time in 2022 where HBO is the powerhouse that's cranking out show after show that always you just expect nominations. And so I do think that it is a surprise that White Lotus got as much love as it did, simply because you are going up against it's sort of like you don't want to cannibalize your own network. And there's so many great HBO shows. The fact that White Lotus emerged from the pack along with Succession and stuff like that is impressive. But, you know, Roxy was just hammering the points home about Abbott Elementary and the little show that could. It's on a network, ABC. But again, ABC doesn't necessarily mean what it did 10, 20, even 5 years ago as far as a network pedigree goes. None of the networks do in terms of the Emmys. So I do think that Abbott Elementary would be the biggest surprise nomination, or at least the bigger. And so I give Roxy the point here. So Roxy gets the win, but congratulations, Roxy, you are a champion. But before Roxy gets
the Super Bowl,
enjoy her flowers.
Super Bowl.
You won the Super Bowl, but because we didn't have time for a tiebreaker round and Roxy ended up winning 3-1, I do want to give y'all just maybe 30 seconds each to give us each an underrated series that you think deserves recognition. That's what would have been our tiebreaker round. And I just want to hear the shows that y'all think maybe more people should be paying attention to. Maybe the Emmys should be paying more attention to. So Naz, I want to start with you. It was a tough loss today. You fought valiantly. You made a bunch of great points. What is your underrated series that deserves more love?
Thank you. It is an honor just to be invited to play and speak because we all love TV. I got to talk about Insecure. You know, Issa Rae is nominated this year, but I feel like this show just flew under the Emmys radar and did not get the recognition that it deserved. Insecure was so groundbreaking in so many different ways. It showed us a different part of LA, had like a mainly Black cast. It was so hilarious. That really was a little show that could. The fact that Issa Rae became just like this breakout. Like she had Awkward Black Girl on like YouTube, and it turned into like this huge show with a massive fandom on HBO. And the fact that it was only ever nominated as a series in 2020, just, it really makes me sad. Like I was saying earlier, Natasha Rothwell, happy to see her recognized for White Lotus. I wish her work on this show, Yvonne Oji, should have been sort of recognized more for Insecure. I think this last season really just stuck the landing. It's a show that dives deep into friendships, into race, into family. And I just think this last season was so incredible. It ended so perfectly that I think it's an under the radar show that people should pay more attention to.
I got turned on to it in season 2 and it became appointment viewing for me. And the fact that Issa, she gets picked up at the airport at the opening of the final season, and then we're broken up by the time we get home. It's like that. What a baller play by Issa. And again, just a testament to what you can do if you have enough creative vision and enough willpower to get it done. Roxy, you had enough willpower to get the win here today in your Super Bowl. What is an underrated series that you think deserves more Emmy love?
Well, I also agree with Insecure. That gets the win for this for me, because I'm so with you that it's a crime that show was not nominated more often. I don't get what happened there. And I hope that Issa ends up winning for lead actress in a comedy series. She deserves it this year. But for me, the show that I am really confused about at the Emmys every year, and there's some funny business going on with this one clearly, is Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a show that is watched by 14 million viewers a week. Now, those numbers, that doesn't mean what it used to mean. Like, I know that big numbers used to be bigger than that, but in a world where there are 900 original series a year that you can watch that are scripted, or over 1,000 or something, 14 million viewers a week is insane. That's on average. Not only does the show get snubbed, but Kevin Costner and Kelly Riley both continue to get snubbed. The actress Kelly Riley that plays this character Beth, it's my favorite character on television, period. And she's unbelievable. I think that's why the Kaylee Cuoco nomination bothers me so much, because it's like, but then there's Kelly Riley, who's just like snubbed after snub. This has only ever been nominated for one Emmy ever, in all of the years, and none this year. It has 3 spinoffs, or 3 planned spinoffs, one with Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford. Like, what are we talking about that this show that is a powerhouse gets completely shut out every year with A-list celebrities, an incredible theme to it. It's basically like Succession, but cowboys, and spinoff after spinoff. Whose cereal did they piss in? Because somebody's not happy with Yellowstone.
Yeah, I love Yellowstone too, and I'm not going to take up time, but everything you said is so correct. And I hope, Roxy, that in the same way where Schitt's Creek started to get recognition towards the end, I hope that kind of happens for Yellowstone eventually.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, I mean, this is going to end on a weird note, because every time I try to watch Yellowstone, I end up falling asleep within 30 minutes. So I'm not sure. Insecure does it for me. Yellowstone, not there. I'll give it another shot for Roxy. And it sounds
Damn,
like
I would have won this category, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Damn.
we're lucky we didn't go to overtime. But that was such a well-played match by both of y'all here at Binge Battle, honoring and celebrating and just getting everybody hyped for the 2022 Emmy ceremony this September. I want to remind everybody, you can head to RottenTomatoes.com for the list of nominees in every category for the 2022 Emmys, and then RottenTomatoes.com. It's also just great hub to have for all your TV, movies, everything that's going on in the world, all your tomato meter scores, all your audience score, and the late breaking news. That's the website to bookmark. Do people bookmark websites anymore? I'm told that some people do. So bookmark that website. Roxy Stryer, you can follow her at Roxy Stryer across social media platforms, and check out her endeavors on the World Girls, where they give new cool things to try. And Naz Perez at Naz Perez on social media, coast to coast and internationally, doing red carpets and coverage for folks like E, and right here at Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you all so much for joining us. Roxy and Naz, both champions in my book of spirited debate, keeping it clean, keeping the gloves on for the most part. For everybody here at Binge Battle and Rotten Tomatoes, including our insanely talented engineer, Christian Rubalcaba, I am merely Mark Ellis saying thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the Emmys.